They thought they were untouchable, that they could walk through life throwing thorns in your path without ever feeling the sting themselves. But life doesn't work that way. The universe has a way of balancing itself out, making sure that no betrayal goes unpaid, no lie stays hidden, and no enemy walks away untouched. The ones who tried to block your success, the ones who whispered behind your back, plotted in the shadows, and wished for your downfall, they thought they were playing a game they would always win. But the irony, every move they made against you was actually a step toward their own destruction. The same hands that set traps for you are now tangled in their own web. The same mouths that spread lies are now choking on the weight of their own words. That's how the cycle works. That's how justice finds its way back. What they never understood is that you weren't just anyone. You are the exception, the force they couldn't control, the storm they never saw coming. Being chosen is not just a title, it's a force, an energy, a power that haunts your enemies long after they've tried to bury you. And the worst part for them, the more they fought you, the higher you rose. They thought they could break you, but in doing so, they broke themselves. They thought they were your obstacle, but they became your greatest advantage. Every attack sharpened you, every setback prepared you, every betrayal pushed you closer to the victory they never saw coming. And now, they are the ones struggling, trapped, watching in horror as everything they built on lies crumbles right in front of them, while you keep rising, untouchable. This is the moment where the universe makes its move, where their past catches up and your power becomes undeniable. If you feel this shift, if you know deep down that your time has come, hit that like button, subscribe, and step fully into the reality that was always meant for you. The ones who tried to stop you, they already lost. Now, watch how the game plays out. Number 1, ignore the divine contract, and you seal your own fate. They thought they were in control, that their schemes, their lies, their endless manipulations would always keep them ahead. They moved through life like nothing could touch them, like the rules didn't apply to them. But what they never realized is that the game they were playing was never theirs to control. There was always a limit, a point of no return, a silent countdown that only the wise could hear ticking in the background. And now, that countdown has hit 0. This isn't sudden. This isn't random. This is the final stage of a process that was always in motion. The ones who stood against you thought they were unstoppable. They saw your patience as weakness. They mistook your silence for surrender. But in reality, they were just exhausting their last chances. They were using up every opportunity they had to turn things around, and they wasted them all. Now, the door is shut. The window is closed. The page has turned, and they are no longer the ones writing the story. They don't get to negotiate. They don't get to beg for more time. This isn't about revenge. It's simply the weight of their own actions finally collapsing onto them. What's happening to them right now isn't unfair. It's not bad luck. It's the mathematics of life, the outcome of the choices they made over and over again. They threw stones and expected to walk away clean. But the universe doesn't work that way. The damage they caused had to go somewhere, and now it's coming full circle, straight to them. And the irony? The same power they thought they had over you is now the force tearing their world apart. While they were busy trying to block your path, they never realized they were building walls around themselves. Every trap they set, every rumor they spread, every hit they tried to land on you, they were just digging their own grave. They see it now. The panic is setting in. The fear is crawling into their minds, whispering what they never wanted to admit. This is their own doing. They are the ones who wrote this ending, and now they have to live in it. Meanwhile, you are stepping into what was always yours, no longer weighed down, no longer held back. Every battle you fought, every moment of struggle, it was all leading here. And while they are crumbling under the weight of their own choices, you are rising. So let them watch. Let them witness the shift that they swore would never happen, because nothing can stop it now. The final decision has been made. And this time, they don't get a say in how it ends. Number 2, the sins you sow will manifest in your own flesh. They thought they could escape the weight of their own actions, that they could move through life causing harm, spreading deceit, and poisoning everything they touched without consequence. But what they never realized is that you don't get to walk away from the energy you create. The sickness they are facing now, it isn't random. It isn't a cruel twist of fate. It is the mirror of their own deeds, the living proof that what you put into the world always finds its way back. Every lie they told, every time they tried to manipulate, every time they inflicted pain, it has all taken root within them, and now it's unraveling them from the inside out. This sickness is not just physical. It's in their mind, their emotions, their very existence. It haunts them in ways they can't explain. Their bodies are failing them, their thoughts are betraying them, and the paranoia they once planted in others. It has become their reality. They thought they could destroy others without facing destruction themselves. But the damage they caused didn't disappear. It simply waited for the right time to return. And now, it's here. What makes this even worse for them? This isn't an ordinary downfall. Every symptom, every struggle, every moment of suffering is tailored perfectly to reflect the harm they caused. If they spread fear, now they live in terror. If they inflicted pain, now they feel it deep in their bones. If they thrived on deception, now they are drowning in their own lies. This isn't just karma, it's precision justice. A force that doesn't miss, doesn't forget, and doesn't leave room for escape. And yet, they still refuse to accept the truth. They still try to fight it. But the harder they resist, the stronger the grip becomes. This isn't a temporary storm. It's a storm of their own making. One that will only end when they finally face the reality they've been running from. And while they struggle, while they fall apart piece by piece, you stand untouched. Because what separates you from them is simple. You never had to steal power. You never had to manipulate. You never had to destroy others to build yourself up. They wrote their own fate. Now they are forced to read every painful word of it. Number 3, deny the shift and you'll be crushed by it. For a long time you could feel it, the shift, the change, the silent force moving things into place. It was subtle at first, a quiet whisper, a gut feeling telling you to prepare. While others ignored it, you knew. The weight of something big pressed against your spirit, and deep down you understood. Nothing would ever be the same again. But your enemies? They didn't see it coming. Buried under their arrogance, they moved as if they were invincible. They believed their control was permanent, their influence unshakable. They thought they could play their games forever. What they failed to realize is that their time was borrowed. The power they held was never truly theirs. It was a temporary illusion, and now that illusion is falling apart. The shift is no longer hidden. It has broken into reality, loud, undeniable, and merciless. The energy that once moved in the shadows is now exposing everything. And the chosen ones, we are stepping into what was always meant for us. This isn't just about personal success. This is about visibility. The ones who were mocked, dismissed, and overlooked are now standing in a light so powerful it blinds those who once laughed at them. Meanwhile, the enemies who once walked with confidence are stumbling, unraveling under the weight of their own choices. They can feel it now. The loss, the fear, the cold realization that the power they took for granted is no longer in their hands. This isn't coincidence. This is a reckoning, a grand realignment that is exposing everything they tried to hide. The sickness that grips them is more than just a consequence. It's a spotlight. It's showing the world exactly who they are. No more deception, no more pretending. And now, those who once doubted you, who questioned your path, who sided with your enemies, they are seeing the truth unfold before their very eyes. Your enemies, they're scrambling, trying to hold on to something that has already slipped away, watching, powerless, as everything they built crumbles to the ground. The shift is the great equalizer, and there is no escaping it. What was hidden is now revealed. There's no going back. For the chosen ones, this is our moment. Number 4. The clock on mercy has stopped. Act before it's too late. They thought they had infinite time, that the game would go on forever. They moved with arrogance, believing that no matter what they did, no matter how much damage they caused, there would always be another chance. They built their power on deception, played their tricks without a second thought, and convinced themselves that the silence they were met with was acceptance. They mistook patience for weakness and lack of immediate consequences for permission. But what they never understood is that silence is never forever. It was only the calm before the storm. Now, time's up. For too long, they doubled down on their cruelty, thinking they could get away with anything. They ignored the warnings, laughed in the face of accountability, and took every second chance as an excuse to tighten their grip. But here's the truth. Second chances are not infinite. Mercy is not a free pass. It's a test. And they failed. Again, and again, and again. What they never expected is that when patience runs out, it doesn't just disappear, it transforms. It turns into something else, something unforgiving, something that does not negotiate. And now, the only thing left for them is the full weight of their own choices, crushing down on them with no escape. This isn't revenge. This is balance. The energy they threw into the world is returning, and there's no stopping it now. The ones who thought they were untouchable, the ones who built their world on lies, manipulation, and harm, are now forced to live in the reality they created for others. The illusion of immunity is shattered. The false sense of security is gone. And no matter how hard they scramble, no matter how much they deny, deflect, or beg for another delay, there is no reset button. The doors they once walked through so easily are now locked. The chances they once relied on have disappeared, and while they are trapped under the weight of everything they ignored for so long, you, the chosen ones, are rising. No longer burdened, no longer held back. You have passed the test, and they have failed it. This is what happens when patience runs out. No more warnings, no more negotiations, just pure, undeniable consequences. And this time, there's no way out. Number 5. You're being isolated for a reason. Break free or perish. They always believed they could move unchecked, spreading their influence, twisting reality to fit their lies, and manipulating people into submission. Their power was built on deception, control, and fear. But now, everything they relied on is slipping through their fingers like sand. What's happening isn't just misfortune, it's a full-scale isolation, a spiritual quarantine that is shutting them off from everything they once used to dominate, deceive, and destroy. They thrived in the shadows, poisoning minds, pulling strings, and feeding off chaos like parasites. But now, their reach is shrinking. The doors they once walked through so easily are locked. The people they controlled are waking up, and the power they thought was endless, completely useless. This isn't an accident. This is the universe cleaning itself, a forced separation, cutting them off before they can spread more damage. Look at them now, scrambling, panicking, desperate to hold on to what they once had. But nothing is working. Their words have lost their weight. Their plans fall apart before they even begin. The same tricks that once made them powerful now backfire at every turn. No one is listening. No one is following. The same people who once stood by them are turning away, as if something deep inside is warning them to keep their distance. They are learning a lesson they never expected. True power comes from within, not from fear, not from manipulation, not from illusions. And without their tricks, they are nothing. And for the chosen ones, this quarantine is protection, a final break from their toxicity. No more interference, no more obstacles, no more distractions from what you were meant to do. For too long, they tried to hold you back. They drained your energy, whispered doubts into your mind, and worked tirelessly to dim your light. But now, the universe is stepping in, cutting the cord for good. Let them sit in their isolation. Let them feel what it's like to be left with nothing but the weight of their own actions. While they crumble in their own undoing, you are finally free to rise without them in your way. Number 6. You can't fight what you can't see. The unseen forces are moving. They thought they had everything under control. They believed their power was solid, their influence unshakable, and their manipulations untouchable. But what they never saw coming was the force working in the shadows, unseen, unstoppable, and completely out of their reach. For too long, they moved unchecked, building their empire on deception, oppression, and mind games. They mistook silence for permission, assuming that just because nothing had happened yet, nothing ever would. But what they failed to realize was that patience is not approval, it's a strategy. And now, the strategy has shifted. The moment they feared, the moment they laughed off as impossible, is here. And the most terrifying part? They have no idea how to fight back. This isn't loud, it's not chaotic, it's precise. Every weak spot in their fortress is being exposed, every foundation of lies is cracking, and the very power they once held is slipping through their fingers like sand. Their allies are disappearing, their influence is fading, their carefully built illusions are crumbling, and no matter what they do, they can't stop it. Because the forces working against them are beyond their understanding. They can't bribe them, they can't manipulate them, they can't predict them. The systems they relied on are failing. The people who once stood by their side are stepping away, sensing the storm that's coming. Everything they built is collapsing, and there's no lifeline left. And the irony, this isn't happening randomly. It's happening in perfect, calculated precision. Every action they took against you, every trap they set, every move they made thinking they were untouchable, it's all coming back, piece by piece, in ways they never imagined. This is not just misfortune. This is balance. This is the universal response to everything they did, but thought they escaped. And the worst part for them, they can't even see where it's coming from. So now they panic, they scramble, they try to hold on, but it's already too late. The process has begun, and there's no way out. Because this is the part where they finally reap what they've sown. Number 7. Public judgment is coming. There's nowhere to hide. They thought they could hide, that their actions would remain buried, their secrets untouched. They moved in the shadows, believing that if no one saw the damage they caused, it would never catch up to them. But reality doesn't work that way. There is no escape from the truth when the world itself becomes the witness. What's happening to them now isn't quiet. It's not some private downfall they can suffer in silence. It's loud, it's visible, it's undeniable. Every mask they wore is cracking in front of everyone. The lies they built their power on are collapsing. The people who once stood by their side are backing away, not out of pity, but out of fear. They wanted to be untouchable, but now they're on full display. The same audience they performed for, the same people they deceived. They are now watching their downfall in real time. The sickness isn't just physical. It's a mark, a sign, a walking reminder of everything they tried to cover up. And the best part, it's a lesson for everyone watching. Those who once doubted you, those who stayed silent when they should have spoken up, they can't ignore it anymore. They're witnessing firsthand what happens when someone builds their life on deception and destruction. The ones who thought they could stay neutral are now forced to choose a side because the truth is no longer something they can pretend not to see. For years, your enemies acted as if consequences were just a myth, as if they could manipulate, betray, and destroy without ever paying the price. But now, they are the example. They are the proof that no one is untouchable, no matter how high they climbed. Let this be the reminder they never wanted. Justice isn't silent. It doesn't whisper. It doesn't operate in secrecy. It arrives like a storm, tearing through illusions, making sure everyone sees exactly what happens when the balance is finally restored. And for you, chosen one, this is your moment to rise even higher, to walk in your power while they scramble to make sense of the disaster they created for themselves. Their reckoning is here, and the whole world is watching. Number 8. If you abuse power, be ready for the reversal. They never thought this day would come. They sat at the top for so long, manipulating, controlling, and feeding off power like it was their birthright. They built their empires on deception, forced their way to the top, and laughed at those they considered beneath them. But nothing lasts forever. And now, the shift has arrived. A force so undeniable that even they can't ignore it. The ones they tried to silence, they are now the ones speaking. The ones they tried to break, they are stronger than ever. The ones they dismissed as weak, unworthy, and insignificant, they are now standing in places their enemies never imagined they would reach. This isn't just a small change, it's a complete reversal. They used to control everything, pulling strings behind the scenes, twisting situations in their favor. Now, they're the ones trapped in the very system they created. The influence they once used to manipulate has slipped through their fingers. The people who once followed them blindly are walking away. Their words no longer hold weight. Their presence no longer commands fear. It's terrifying for them, isn't it? To realize that the power they built wasn't real. It was borrowed. And now, it's gone. Meanwhile, the chosen ones have risen. But here's the real twist. This power shift isn't just about status. It's not about titles or material success. It's something much deeper. The chosen ones now carry an authority that goes beyond what the world understands. A force that their enemies can't fight, can't manipulate, and can't escape. The tables have turned, and now the ones who once tried to destroy you are at your mercy. They wanted to see you fall, but now they stand powerless as you rise, unstoppable. And the best part, you don't even have to fight them. The shift is already in motion, and there's nothing they can do to reverse it. This moment isn't just about revenge. It's a reminder, a hard, undeniable truth. No one holds power forever, and when you use it to harm, to oppress, to control, it will eventually turn against you. So let them watch. Let them sit in their panic. Because what's coming next? They won't be able to handle it. Number 9. Your own mind will become your worst enemy. They thought they were invincible, that their minds, once sharp and calculating, would always be their greatest weapon. They lived in arrogance, believing they could manipulate, deceive, and control everything around them. But what happens when the very mind that once served them turns into their worst enemy? This is their reality now. The sickness they face isn't just in their bodies. It's in their thoughts, their emotions, their very being. The voices in their heads, once full of confidence and superiority, now whisper doubt, fear, and regret. They used to thrive in deception, but now they can't escape the truth. Every lie they told is replaying in their minds. Every betrayal they committed now haunts them. The power they thought they had, gone. The control they once wielded over others, shattered. It started subtly, restless nights, anxious thoughts, a creeping sense that something was off. But now, it's inescapable. The silence they once enjoyed has turned into a relentless storm of self-recrimination. They can't outrun it, can't silence it, can't distract themselves from the reality closing in on them. They were so busy trying to break you, they never realized they were breaking themselves. And the most terrifying part, this is just the beginning. The chosen ones were tested through pain, through betrayal, through struggle. But you endured, you rose above. And now, while you walk forward, free and victorious, your enemies are trapped in their own personal hell. Their minds, once their greatest weapon, have become their greatest tormentor. The thoughts that once made them feel powerful now keep them awake at night, suffocating them in fear. Regret claws at them, but it's too late. The voices in their heads scream the truth they refuse to hear. They lost. Their time is up. Their own choices have become their downfall. They thought they could escape the consequences, but they never realized that their own minds would be the ones to punish them. Number 10. Some won't make it. Will you be one of them? Not everyone makes it to the other side. Not everyone escapes the storm they created. Some people dig a hole so deep that there is no way out. And for those who thought they could manipulate, deceive, and destroy without consequence, this is where their road ends. They spent years playing a game they were never meant to win, a game where they believed that power, control, and lies could protect them forever. But time has proven them wrong. The warnings were there, the opportunities to change were there, but they ignored them all. Now, there's nothing left but the fallout of their own decisions. This isn't a temporary setback. This isn't something they can recover from. This is the full weight of their actions coming down all at once. Some will try to fight it. Some will scramble for a way out. But what they don't realize is, they already lost the moment they refused to change. They always thought they had more time, that there would be another chance, that they could outsmart the inevitable. But reality doesn't work that way. There's a point where choices become final, and for them, that point has already passed. For years they spread chaos, built empires on deception, and crushed others to maintain their false power. But you don't get to destroy without being destroyed in return. Every ounce of suffering they caused is now circling back, and not everyone will be able to handle what's coming. Some will break under the pressure, some will lose everything, and some won't make it at all. They thought they could rewrite the rules, that the consequences would never reach them. But life never forgets. The energy they threw into the world is returning in full force, and for some, there's no bargaining, no escape, no second chances left. Meanwhile, you, the chosen ones, are walking free, rising, untouched, while they are swallowed by the very chaos they created. This isn't about revenge, it's about balance, the natural order restoring itself. And those who refuse to change, they are being left behind, for good. Number 11. The chosen are rising. Align yourself or be left behind. They tried to break you. They threw everything they had, lies, betrayal, manipulation, sabotage, thinking they could shatter your spirit, thinking they could erase you from the story. But they didn't realize one thing. You are chosen, and the chosen don't fall. They rise. Every moment of struggle, every battle you fought, every time they tried to silence you, it all served a purpose. What they thought was weakening you was actually refining you. They didn't see it coming, but while they were busy tearing you down, you were transforming into something unstoppable. And now it's undeniable. Your rise isn't quiet, and it isn't hidden. It's happening in plain sight. The same people who laughed at you, who dismissed you, who thought you'd never make it, they are the ones watching now. Watching as you step into power, as you claim the position they swore you'd never have. And there's nothing they can do about it. Their downfall is fueling your elevation. Every attack they launched only gave you more strength. Every obstacle they placed in your way only pushed you forward. What was meant to destroy you has become the very thing lifting you higher. That's the thing about being chosen. Nothing works against you. Even when it looks like you're losing, you're winning. Even when it looks like the world is against you, you're still being positioned exactly where you're meant to be. The irony? They set their own trap. They thought their power was absolute. They believed their influence could keep you down forever. But they underestimated the force behind you. And now, as their world collapses, you're rising beyond anything they ever imagined. This is no accident. This is balance. When you remain steadfast, when you refuse to break, when you keep pushing forward despite everything, you become untouchable. That's exactly what's happening now. You are stepping into leadership, influence, authority, not because you fought for it, but because it was always meant for you. And your enemies? They have no power left. Their attempts to stop you are failing. Their control is slipping through their fingers. They are forced to witness your success while drowning in the consequences of their own choices. This is your time. Your elevation isn't just about you. It's about proving that nothing can stop what is destined, and the whole world is watching. Number 12. The darkness. You hid in will now expose you. They thought they could stay hidden, that by standing in the shadows, keeping their hands clean while whispering instructions to others, they would escape the storm. But the storm doesn't just hit the obvious villains. It sweeps up every single person who played a part, no matter how quietly they moved. The sickness that is now gripping them is more than just a physical affliction. It's a force of reckoning, an unstoppable wave that exposes every lie, every deception, and every hidden alliance. The ones who thought they were safe because they weren't in the spotlight. They're finding out the hard way that silence is just as damning as action. For years, they stood on the sidelines, nodding along as harm was done, profiting from the suffering of others while pretending to be uninvolved. They played both sides, smiling in the faces of the chosen ones while secretly fueling the destruction behind their backs. But the truth? You can't be neutral in a battle between right and wrong. Now they are being dragged into the light. The same people who thought they were untouchable, who thought their roles were too small to matter, are now watching their names, their involvement, and their choices come to the surface. No one is safe from the exposure. The enablers, the silent witnesses, the ones who covered up the truth. They are all caught in the unraveling. And the irony, The very thing they helped create is now consuming them. What they failed to understand was that the foundation they built was never strong. It was a house of cards stacked on lies, deceit, and manipulation. And once the first card fell, everything followed. They can deny it. They can try to backtrack, but it's too late. This is the moment of reckoning. Every mask is being ripped off. Every secret is being revealed. The people who once trusted them are pulling away, seeing their true colors for the first time. Their power is slipping. Their influence is crumbling. And worst of all, they are trapped in the very mess they created. For so long, they thought they were watching someone else's downfall, but the real downfall was always their own. Number 13. Redemption has a cost. Are you willing to pay it? They wanted a way out, a quick fix, a clean slate without the weight of their actions dragging behind them. But redemption isn't free. It's not a reset button that wipes the slate clean without consequence. It's a road, a long, brutal one, and most won't have the strength to walk it. For those who caused harm, who built their power on deception and destruction, the path to redemption isn't about saying the right words. It's about facing the truth of what they've done. The masks must come off. The illusions must shatter. And for the first time, they must look in the mirror and see the destruction they created. There's no escaping it. Every betrayal, every manipulation, every wound they inflicted, it all stands before them now, waiting to be reckoned with. They can deny it, they can resist it, but it won't change the reality that their past is here, demanding payment. The price? Their pride, their comfort, their ego. They must be willing to strip themselves bare, to let go of every excuse, every justification. They must admit to themselves and to those they've hurt that they were wrong, that they chose destruction over growth, and most of all, that no one else is to blame but them. This road won't offer them rewards. It won't come with applause. It will be humiliating, exhausting, and relentless. But for the few, the very few, who are strong enough to endure it, true change is possible. Because this isn't a journey for the weak. It's not for those looking for an easy escape from consequences, the ones who only want redemption to avoid suffering. They'll fall before they even take the first step. The universe doesn't accept half measures. You either own your actions completely or you drown in them. There is no middle ground, no shortcuts, no bargaining your way out. The chosen ones didn't rise because they begged for an easy way. They rose because they endured. They fought. They faced every storm without running. And now, as they ascend to heights their enemies swore they'd never reach, the only question left is, and so the cycle completes itself. The ones who thought they could escape the weight of their own actions now find themselves trapped in the very fate they created. The chosen ones rise, not because of luck, but because they endured what others could not. Their strength became their weapon. Their patience became their power. Now, the only thing left to do is move forward, while the past consumes those who refuse to change. If you feel this shift, if you know you were meant to rise, hit that like button, subscribe, and step into your power. The future is waiting.